Today will be about Whonix. Whonix is a really interesting distro that uses virtual machines to create a firewall network on top of one piece of bare metal. The system consists of the firewall component called the gateway and the end user component called the workstation. They also come with their own custom networking configurations to ensure that the workstation connects to the gateway and the gateway handles outgoing and incoming traffic. This creates a configuration similar to the one that you would have with a router or a firewall. Whonix is one of the most secure machines that you can possibly use, but you'll find that it has surprisingly few actual security measures that it takes. If you're used to Tails, you're used to all kinds of crazy cryptographic stuff on top of putting the operating system on the bare metal of other people's computers. If you're used to Cube's OS, you're used to using like 10 computers on your one machine. With Whonix, you basically just have your computer behind a firewall and the firewall runs everything through Tor. But it does this with a spin because Whonix uses overlay root, just like Tails, to transpose the operating system onto RAM. And so then your operating system is running from RAM, and once this session closes out, it's completely destroyed. So that's the philosophy of how Whonix protects you. KISS principle, burnable sessions. In fact, it's so simple that you can probably build a Whonix network from scratch using Debian or Arch in about 15 minutes. The first thing I want you to notice is the options that we have here. There are really two. This first option is for maintenance. This is going to create persistent changes, and there are obvious security problems with daily driving using this mode. The second one is called live mode user, and it does look really weird. It kind of is, but it gives you that really nice ablative property that lets you just throw sessions away and collapse sessions and not have to worry about bad people putting bad stuff on your machine unless they really know what they're doing. By the way, there are people out there who know how to use the firmware of your RAM or the firmware of your CPU to still put stuff on your computer even though you're not in a persistent session. Don't kid yourself thinking that this is perfect protection. When you boot this for a maintenance pass, you boot the gateway first, and you have the gateway running by itself alone. Then you're going to log in as your Whonix user, which if you have your hands on Whonix, you know how to do this. Unless you need to do bridging or any kind of special configuration, there is only one command that you need to run inside this environment here. That command is system check, all one word. You just wait for it to finish. Sorry, you just wait for it to finish. By the way, system check is just a script that goes down a checklist to make sure that everything is right with the computer so that Whonix can do its magic. It doesn't even do anything special, it just makes it easier to have good habits. The most common line item to fail is the one where you have out-of-date packages. So to fix that, you just do apt update, apt upgrade, and you reboot the system for good measure. So now we're good to go with this for the most part. We can just power this off right now. Now we are going to maintain our workstation. There is a particular way I want you to power on your machine to stay safe. The goal is to connect my workstation to the network for maintenance, but I have to do so safely. If I power up my gateway first, then I risk exposing my level 0 to the network. The level 0 in this case is the virtual hardware that these virtual machines are running on, thinking that they're bare metal. Even though the likelihood of such threats is very small, the consequences of them are catastrophic. Because the consequences are so bad and they're so easy to mitigate, we're going to do that right now. We will first start our workstation. We will start it in the normal mode. Now that we have our workstation up, we will start our gateway. With the gateway, originally we started with this option. Now we will use live mode user. And we'll just let it boot up and we'll leave it logged out. Now here is our gateway, and this is exactly how it's going to stay for the rest of our session. So now we are in our workstation and we will do a system check. It's a little slow, it's Whonix. So we're good to go. If it complains about updates, just update upgrade and you'll be fine. Use the terminal for that and yeah. One more thing, launch the Tor browser and make sure that it's updated. And while I'm here, I like to check yandex.com really quick, and I do this for two reasons. One, it's a very safe site, arguably safer than Google. And two, it tells you where it thinks you are. So we can do this to force Tor to think about whether or not it has updates. And we also get this nice little placard showing a location. And we can also see the weather in Amsterdam, which is very nice. If you see a little circle beside these little lines, you can click this and you're going to be able to update Tor if there are updates available. If not, your menu will look like mine. Between each action, by the way, I can burn the firewall session and get a completely different identity. Once you're done here, you just power off both virtual machines and Whonix is ready to use. Remember, we do not want to be exposing our level 0 to network activity. So collapse the gateway first and then power off the workstation. From here, using the live mode, power on the workstation. Before I do anything else, I will go into the terminal and check for something very specific. That device mounted as root is not the traditional one, which is exactly what you need to see in live mode. That overlay file system is a type of tmpfs, which is a piece of your RAM. What this machine is doing right now is it's spooling out the main system onto tmpfs like an ISO file. So that means the file system that's actually being used and is actually writable is completely ablative. Unless the hacker is cracked, you can just turn off the virtual machine and any malware on it is destroyed. The important thing to remember is use the live mode, boot the workstation, and then the gateway. So there you go, Whonix OS and how to deploy it safely.